When a disaster hits, the path to recovery can feel just impossibly long. But what if there was a way to rebuild not just faster, but better? Today, we're diving into this incredible story of innovation and community coming together after a really devastating wildfire. And it all starts with the sheer scale of the challenge they were up against. So let's start with this number, 16,000. That's how many structures were destroyed when the Eaton and Palisades wildfires just tore through the Los Angeles area back in January of 2025. I mean, it's an almost unimaginable level of destruction that left entire communities just completely shattered. And we're going to zoom in on one community in particular, Altadena, California. It's a mixed income area, a place with a lot of longtime residents. When those fires swept through, people didn't just lose buildings. They lost the very fabric of their neighborhoods. They lost the homes they'd lived in for generations. Now, here's where it gets really interesting when you look at the data. See, in Altadena specifically, a really significant chunk of the homes that burned down, we're talking about 600 of them, were actually pretty modest places, under 1,000 square feet. These weren't mansions. They were the homes of working families, of retirees, and that, right there, made the idea of rebuilding even more difficult. And that loss of smaller, more affordable homes, well, that brings us right to the heart of the problem. For these residents, just picking up and starting over wasn't really an option. The dream of rebuilding on the very land they owned was, for so many, just completely and totally out of reach. Let's look at why. I mean, just imagine trying to deal with all this. The hurdles are just overwhelming. So many of these longtime residents discovered they were drastically underinsured. And on top of that, you're supposed to navigate the entire construction world after this huge trauma. Finding contractors you can trust, getting permits, dealing with landscaping. It's a full-time job that takes money and expertise that most survivors just don't have. But right in the middle of this crisis, something really amazing started to happen. An innovative partnership formed. A company called Samara, which makes these cool, modern, accessory dwelling units, like backyard homes. They teamed up with a nonprofit called Steadfast LA. And together, they decided to tackle this problem head-on. And their mission? It was so direct and so powerful. They weren't offering loans. They weren't just giving advice. They decided they were going to provide brand new, permanent homes to the residents who needed it most, completely free of charge, no strings attached. This quote from Samara's CEO, Mike McNamara, really just gets right to the heart of it all. This wasn't about some business opportunity. It was about stepping in to fill a huge gap where people were genuinely stuck, totally overwhelmed by a system that just isn't built for a crisis like this. So, how big is this project? Well, the initial goal is to build and install about 10 homes for families who are affected, mostly in Altadena. But that number could absolutely grow if more funding comes through. It's a really focused start, but it has the potential to make a much, much bigger impact. So, you might be wondering, how in the world can they do this so efficiently? Well, the secret sauce is the technology itself. It's called modular construction. These aren't just any homes. They are built in a completely different way that, frankly, changes the whole game. The specific model they're using is called the Backyard XL. It's about 950 square feet with 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. It's basically the perfect modern replacement for those smaller homes that were lost, and it fits beautifully on their original lots. Okay, and this part is absolutely crucial. These homes are not just replacements. They are major upgrades designed for the new reality of living in Southern California. They're built for resilience. We're talking fire-resistant siding, metal roofs, and even advanced HVAC systems to filter out wildfire smoke. This is what building back better actually looks like. And the process itself is just brilliant. So while the foundation is getting prepped on site in Altadena, the actual home is being precision-built in a factory down in Mexicali. Then it's transported and installed. And Samara handles everything, from that installation to the final touches like decks and landscaping. They take the entire burden off the homeowner's shoulders. And just look at this timeline. From the second a permit gets approved, a family can be ready to move into their new home in just 90 to 120 days. Think about that for a second. Compared to the years it can take for a traditional construction project, this kind of speed is an absolute game changer for a community that's trying to heal. So what does this all mean for the future? Well, we're seeing more than just a really generous project here. We're actually witnessing a tangible impact and, maybe, a whole new model for how we handle disaster recovery. And hey, this isn't just an idea on paper. This is real. On January 22nd, 2026, the very first home was installed. That is a massive milestone. It means a family that lost literally everything now has a beautiful, safe, and permanent place to call home again. It's hope made real. And this whole model is starting to catch on elsewhere, too. Samara actually spun off from Airbnb back in 2022, and now they're also partnering with big real estate groups to add these units to existing apartment communities. It just goes to show that this kind of efficient, factory-built housing has uses way beyond disaster relief. Which really leaves us with one final and pretty powerful question. In an age where we're seeing more and more climate-related disasters, could this combination of nonprofit funding and rapid, resilient, modular construction be the new blueprint for how we help communities recover? It's a pretty hopeful look at what a smarter, more responsive future could be.